What's going on, YouTube? This is Jim Afanis, and today I want to talk to you guys about Cho'gall. He just dropped in Heroes of the Storm yesterday on the 17th, a Tuesday, and he's a really cool character. It requires 2 heroes to play as him, so you need to be you and a friend. One person controls Cho, who's responsible for all the movement and some offense, and the other person controls Gall, who's just primarily offense. The only way to get them is to have attended or bought the virtual ticket for BlizzCon 2015. If you have a friend who has the virtual ticket and you play 2 games with them and win, you then unlock Cho'gall, and you can obviously spread him around like a plague in the Nexus. And it's really cool. So I bought the virtual ticket, and I was happy to get him. The gameplay you see in the background is my first attempt at playing with him. I thought I'd show this one because you really see a smorgasbord of random abilities as I'm trying to figure out what the hell to do with this guy. Trying to figure out his limitations, and my wife actually played with me, so that was a lot of fun. She doesn't really play heroes a lot, and that's something I'll talk about a little bit later on. But I want to dive into his abilities first and then give you guys some impressions on him. So Cho, again, is the kind of the pilot of the 2. He has a few abilities. He has Surging Fist, where he does this wind-up attack for 1 second, and then he dashes in any direction that you choose. And when he dashes, he knocks back all the enemies in there, and he does a very small amount of damage. Now, I initially thought this was really good for kind of starting off a fight, and maybe it is. There's different playstyles, obviously. I found that in later gameplay with Cho'gall, and I played with him maybe about 8 or 9 rounds last night, kind of passing him around all my friends, that it's actually best used defensively to try to get away. It's not instant like Tychus or Vala's movement. You have to wind it up for a second, so you got to keep that in mind, but I find that it's a great way to just kind of get away from everything immediately. Consuming Blaze, he punches the ground, and it makes this fire aura around him temporarily. And anybody caught in that aura will take damage, and you will actually gain some health over 4 seconds, depending on how much you hit. So it's a really good way to fuel up your tanks. You can obviously spec it to do more healing or more damage. I find obviously Cho'gall has a significant health pool, and constantly spamming this definitely keeps them in the fight a lot longer. The other cool ability is Rune Bomb, and what Rune Bomb does is Cho rolls this ball of damage, and it's a small amount of damage for every person that it hits, but it's up to Gall to detonate it. If Gall detonates it, it does a significant amount of damage. There, I just did it there. You can actually perk it such that it rolls back to you, or it does extra explosive damage, or whatever you want to do. So there's a couple cool perks with that. But it's very cool that it's a tandem ability, and I hope that, you know, depending on how you use it, I guess I should say, you can be hitting 2 different people at once, and it definitely makes Cho'gall a very dynamic character in terms of offense. The 2 ultimates. The first is the Hammer of Twilight. That passively increases your block damage. Your basic damage, and also gives you a big hit with knockback and stun, which is really nice. I didn't pick it on this playthrough because I instead chose Upheaval, which is basically like a giant hook from Stitches that pulls all enemies to you and slows them down and deals a small amount of damage. Cho'gall doesn't really have the best offense in terms of just auto-attacking. This is really good if you can coordinate this with somebody else who's getting ready to use an ultimate. Maybe like put it in Leoric's cage, or have, I don't know, just a big AoE attack, maybe like a Nova Laser or something like that, or maybe a Gazlo Gravel Bomb, but it just pulls everybody to you. Moving over to Gall. Now, Gall is the offense of the group. He cannot be stunned or snared or silenced or anything like that, so weapons free on that dude. He has a couple abilities. He has Shadow Flame, which is just like this purple laser that just shoots out a flame in an area. Dread Orb, which is this bouncy ball that bounces 3 times, and it does damage each time. And the Runic Blast. So after Cho hits the Rune Bomb, Gall has the Rune Blast, which blows it up. And he can only control it if the Rune Bomb isn't out. Rune Blast is grayed out on your bar. Now the Dread Orb was my favorite of the 3 abilities that he has, because you can spec it such that on the 3rd bounce it actually returns to the location of the 1st bounce. So it bounces away and then back. and depending on how you depending on how you spec it, whether it explodes and does another ball completely spawns, or it just does bonus damage. Very, very powerful siege damage, and it definitely, I can see where it works very, very well with the Upheaval ultimate if you can time that right, but it's definitely very powerful. The two ultimates he has is a Shadow Bolt Volley, which unleashes just a flurry of Shadow Bolts doing damage. It's a channeled ability. It's very similar to Diablo's Fire Breath. It's very, very slow to turn, so it's not like one of those really snapping abilities. But it does a pretty good amount of damage. And then Twisting Nether, which is kind of neat. It puts his aura around you. And the aura lasts up to 5 seconds, during which time any enemy that's caught within the aura is slowed by 40%. If you activate it again within that 5 seconds, you do a pretty healthy amount of damage to everybody around you. So, very, very cool. I think I mentioned my wife was actually playing with me during my first playthrough, and this was something that was really, really neat and special to me because she's not a big fan of heroes. And it's not because she doesn't like the gameplay mechanics, but it's because it's a little too twitchy for her, and especially when it's fast and furious trying to like click and change skills and stuff, she struggles a little bit with it. And she actually really enjoyed playing Cho'gall with me, and I think I made a fan of her now that we played a bunch of games together, and it was a lot of fun that all she had to do was just kind of be the offensive support, and all I had to do was call out, hey, we're hitting it, get ready to hit your E, which would be the rune bomb. And it really worked out really well. So I think people who aren't into the game, I think, will really enjoy Cho'gall if they get to be Cho'gall, because it's just like, it's just a typical click and kind of point, very similar to like a Diablo type game. Obviously, you don't control the movement. And I know people say, well, geez, Abathur's been doing that for a long time. And Abathur does do that, but obviously he's most effective with some situational awareness. Obviously you have to move around, spreading some of his abilities to other characters, moving his locust, that sort of thing. He's not just a pure, just leech in that sense, if you want to think of it that way, like Cho'gall is. So that was really, really cool, and I'm happy that Blizzard made a character like this because it allows for that. But when you're playing with somebody who is significantly more skilled, Cho'gall rather has a few abilities that are kind of funny. He has kind of his own ability to smack you out of the way. Let me see if I can find the name of it. I believe it's called, is it Double Back? I'm scanning through his abilities here real quick. As you know me, always prepared for action here. Basically, he can nudge you. There it is. It's called Shove. It's a level 16 ability, and what happens is Cho will push you in any direction slightly. So if you don't like what Cho'gall's doing, if you don't like what Cho is doing, Cho'gall can kind of like say, no, we're going this way. And that's good for getting out of the way. That's good for closing the gap. And when you start to get that kind of synergy with another player, you guys can, if you're really communicating well, and that's obviously what makes this guy such an amazing character, is if you have that skill down and your rune bombs and your rune blasts are hitting at the right time and you're engaging properly, he is a menace. Obviously, if you're playing with people that you haven't played before, or you don't have a way to communicate with them via voice, typing out commands just won't work. It's too slow. He's a lot of fun to play. And he's just cool, like carrying his horse and just kind of being a big brute. It's just something different, and I appreciate that Blizzard did this. This is definitely a very fun character. I don't know how it affects Arena. I'm sure there's probably a lot of discussion about that already, and just as a more casual player now, as I kind of stepped away from the Arena scene and just kind of play with one or two friends, and we just play quick matches and try to save up gold to earn more heroes. He's definitely a lot of fun. There was a strategy we saw with another team, it's not in this video, where they had Cho'gall with an Abathur hat and a Lieutenant Morales following. That was very, very different, because that was like the whole eggs in one basket strategy, and man, we could not take that guy down. I mean, he was just kind of like a walking tank. Obviously, we had a Sergeant Hammer in the other lane who was just wrecking their base. And we ended up winning off of just getting so much siege damage and just pushing the bottom lane while the Cho'gall, pretty much immortal Cho'gall, was walking the top. But it's cool that you have this 2-for-1 because it really does change the dynamic of how do they lane. Obviously, that was a unique strategy that our opponents chose, but if you were just playing like with your friends and you're like, hey, let's all push a lane, it's different to see how Cho'gall plays out. Towards the end, his health pool gets ridiculously high, close to 10,000, which is insane. So even with a pocket healer, like an Uther following you around or a Lily, short of a Lieutenant Morales, in my opinion, you're not really getting that burst healing like you really need because his health pool is just so damn large, which is really why speccing significantly into the Consuming Blaze that gives you that self-healing makes a huge difference on Cho's side. And Gall, I don't think Gall had anything for healing. No, most of his were slows and snares and just obviously kind of damage-based abilities. But very, very cool. Very fun character to play with. So if you don't have Cho'gall and you're interested, you can always look me up if I'm on. My battle.net is JimmyPound1220. I will be more than happy to play a few games with you. If you got TeamSpeak or Skype, that's awesome. We can talk and I can kind of walk you through if you don't have them and nobody's, around to help you. I'm obviously looking for more friends and obviously enjoy meeting all you guys online. But I just wanted to give my overall opinion on Cho'gall. There's some balancing issues, he's a little strong in the health department, and maybe he needs to be. But, typical characters when they come out from Blizzard are a little imbalanced, whether they're a little OP or underpowered. And I'm sure we'll see after some games out in the real world, well, I'm sure Cho'gall gets some sort of buffs or nerfs depending on what the folks at Blizzard see as kind of the negative trends or positive trends. And yeah, so thanks to the guys at Blizzard for releasing this guy. Like I said, it made a fan out of a game with my wife who hasn't really played before, and yeah, that's awesome. I think that's really, really cool. I like that they're taking risks like this and doing these off-the-wall kind of characters, and I hope this trend continues, and it makes, to me, Heroes such a special game. So, as always, I want to thank you guys for watching. Please do me a favor, comment, rate, subscribe. If you guys got a chance to play with Cho'gall, let me know what some of your best builds are. Let me know how you use him in battle. I've seen a lot of different strategies going around, so always looking for more ideas as I play again. And good rest assured, probably in about another half hour or so, I'll be jumping on with my wife, and we'll be playing some more because she's really into it, and it's awesome to be excited and sit there and play with her and enjoy some great Blizzard entertainment. So I'm going to stop rambling for now. I'm going to turn this video off. You've seen enough of us dying, but you get the gist. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys on the other side.